Welcome to Breaking Through the Contradictions. The goal here is to review some of the common contradictions we have lived and have had various conversations about and how it impacts various areas of a child's growth. We invited different parents, business owners, and friends to have a candid conversation on how some of the contradictions we live contribute and or creates larger barriers to supporting our youth. The views and opinions expressed by the guests, speakers, and participants in this context are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the organizers, hosts, or any affiliated individuals or organizations. We encourage open dialogue and diverse perspectives, but the individual viewpoints shared during this discussion are personal and should not be attributed to any collective entity involved. Hey, Christine.
Hey, Tabitha, how are you?
I'm all right. Today's Thursday. That countdown is for us. That's our
Yes, it
opportunity
is.
to breathe. We're here
Ah,
again. It's nice to see you again.
nice to see you too. So, you ready for our topic?
Ready for our topic. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about it is not what you know, it's who you know. So,
Yeah.
how is that even a controversy? Because that doesn't even seem like a controversy to me.
That's what you okay, so from your standpoint, yes, maybe. Okay, but from my standpoint, it's very funny. It's very interesting because I think that the contradiction, the way it comes across is very interesting for me. So what do we tell our kids, right? Go to school. This is what I was told. Go to school, get good grades, and you'll get a good job or just get a job, right? So
Right.
I do all of those things. I hit all of those milestones, and then what happens? Um, I can't get a job, or I can't get the job I want, or I sit in there and I say, I remember this. You're really good, but you don't have enough experience. But how do I get the experience so I can get the job? Well, somebody's got to take a chance on you, right? But nobody wants to take a chance on you. So you're caught in that catch 22 consistently. And as a young person coming out of college or high school, it's really harmful. It is very harmful for them because they're like, well, I've done everything you asked me to do, and here I am being met with that. So then the second part of the contradiction kicks in, which is it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So first, go to school, get good grades, you'll get a good job. But then you show up and you do all those things, and then you can't get the job. And then they tell you it's not what you know, it's who you know. First
Mhm.
thing comes to mind is, holy crap, are you serious? So that means that all these loans I just took out or all this stuff I just did doesn't serve me at all. Why is that? Because my network is not full of people who have enough power or prestige or anything pull to actually get me in the door to get a job, to get the experience, to get started. So
Right.
that right, so there you hear the contradiction. It's
Right.
tough because it's a compound contradiction. It's not just one of those simple ones where you're just like, okay, well this is, oh, you said this. This sounds hypocritical. No, this is a compound one. So now do you hear it?
Yeah, so it's like the goalpost just keeps on moving out. And then as an educator, we're focused in on getting good grades, making sure that they're turning in assignments, making sure that they're handling the educational side of it, and telling their students that if you do X, Y, and Z, you get good grades, then you can go to college. When you go to college, it'll open up the doors for you. It does open up the doors in the way that you're you're leveling up your skills and you have a skill set. But there's the kicker right here. It is who you know. So what happens if I am a student and I live in poverty? Let's just say I live in
Mhm.
poverty and people around me are unemployed. I don't have any good role models, and here I go to school, and then I get out and I'm like, hey, how do I tap into these resources? So, um, as I was listening to you talk, I was also thinking, how can the education system support those types of students? So we could be doing business mentorships where businesses are mentoring students. So when they get out of school, that they would be able to have a network, and they would follow them from high school and then through college, and then support them in the business world, so that way they could get gainful employment instead of racking up those all of that debt.
Yep. This is definitely true. I agree. But my only thing is that not everybody, so not everyone has a network or a group of people who are behind them. So
Right.
so I come from a high risk, low income area. The reason why I believe I can attribute my success is my mom. My mom made a conscious decision, and she made it a point to say, just because this is where we live and this is what you see doesn't mean that has to be how you live for the rest of your life, right? So you have to see beyond where you're starting. So I got that part. When I was out there looking and trying to get that job and trying to do that, build that experience and things like that, I was not given enough. I didn't have a network that we could lean on. Not
Right.
because we didn't know anybody, because we had friends and we had, people who booked businesses, but they were not in a position to help pull us along or say, yeah, let me go, come on in, come sit here, and you can do this while we teach you this, and then you can go off on your own and do that. So
Right.
so many of us who do not have that. But then the other part is, I remember going through this program, and I remember a CEO, a female CEO. Huh, I gotta love the people that make it to that place and forget. But they get up there and she says, "Don't hate the game, just learn how to play it." I was
uh,
livid. I
did she tell
kinda
you the rules?
No, because you
No.
know why?
Okay.
How do you do that if you don't even know the rules of the game, right? But wait a
Hmm.
second, let's go a step further. What if you're missing pieces? So when you play chess, you need all these pieces. When you play
Right.
checkers, you need all these pieces, right? I don't know how many in chess, but whatever. Um, but you need the pieces to play. But
Mhm.
if you're missing your queen, can you really play chess? If you're missing all
Right.
of your pawn, can you really play? So I asked, I was like, wait a second, all of us are not given the pieces to the game. So how do we play then? You just have to figure it out. Whisper in other people's ears and don't get your voice out there. And I was like, and that right there is what perpetuates the crap that people are tired of dealing with. So when
Right.
I tell my kids that they need to go out and do these things, we make a game plan for them to get to where they're going. But I also tell them nobody owes you anything and they're not going to give it to you. So you have to build those relationships in order to go there. But I think what bothered me, and even to this day, is that when they tell me it's not, and I've just been told this, just so we're clear,
No,
it's not
no.
what you know, Tabitha. So I just spent 20 years learning and accumulating knowledge and experience, and it's still who I know, not what I know. And that is harmful. And that is why we have all these social media millionaires.
So, you know, probably true too.
They're like, skip it. We're done. We're just going to make our own wealth.
Oh my goodness. So,
You-
and I think about like the education. I'm going to go back to the education sector, and because we really need to, the we say that it's one way,
yes.
and you're going to be able to get a job
Yes.
if you do X, Y, and Z. They go through, they follow that, and then the game changes because now it's who you know.
Hmm.
So in school, we need to do a shift, and we need to teach them how to interact and how to start networking and doing those softer skills, so that way they have a game plan
Right.
It wouldn't even hurt for them to even go on LinkedIn and start learning how to network early, so that way they can start getting some of their connections in and finding different ways. LinkedIn is just one way, but finding other ways to kind of bridge that gap. But they're going to need guidance on
Yes.
how to do that. And in our education system, we need to make sure that we are partnering with the business sector to make sure that we are having children, that young adults that can obtain jobs, because we don't want a bunch of people that are way underemployed. We want people that can help to level up our communities and our businesses. And we don't want a college person that has all of this, and because their resources are Walmart, that they're stuck working at Walmart when they could be a CEO of a company if they worked their way up, if they were given the chance.
Okay.
That's a danger that I see.
But you say that, but I mean, when I started, I was gonna work my way up from the bottom to the bottom up as far as I
Right.
wanted to go. But I just got a message from someone not too long ago, like literally today, that says, I've hit the glass ceiling. So the thing about all of that, what you're saying sounds great. And it's very good. You're like, yes, I can do it. But to set somebody up for that type of failure is not okay. So kids say if you get good grades, you're winning. We tell our kids, you get good grades, you're winning. You won it, right? But are they really? Because we're noticing it's not the case. There's too many of them with with varying degrees that are doing jobs that they would not, that wasn't their choice. So our network, so what they say, your network is your net
It's your
worth.
net worth. Yes.
Well, okay. I'm building it. I don't agree. I do
Mhm.
not agree. I understand that who you spend your time with, when you look at all the people you spend your time with, accumulative wealth inside of there allows you to understand what is possible. And so then you kind of move, and when you get too big, or when you get big enough out of that pond, you move into another one, and they help you to drive your net worth up. But for somebody who's just starting, when you tell children to do this is what I want you to do, and you said, and they meet you there, and then you move the goalposts, or you move the target, it's a struggle. So I believe that there is a better way to do that. I think that we need to take a look at what they want to do and what's important to them, and then help them understand. Like even my kids, they're both artists, not, they're artists. They're in that creative
Mhm.
side, the
Yes.
one where everybody loves the music and the beauty and all of that. I could not offer them very much but support, and try my best to understand. And my network was not going to be able to necessarily support them. But it doesn't mean that what they wanted to do was wrong. And it doesn't mean that what I'm saying to them, I couldn't get them where they needed to be, where they wanted to be. But that's letting you know sometimes it just doesn't mesh up. And so I never wanted to set them up for to feel that type of aggravation and frustration that I felt coming out, because I'm in tech. And so being in tech, I'm like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do that. But guess what? When I was stepping out, my family's network they couldn't help me. So that
Right.
means that what I know had to be the thing I move forward, but who I know was never gonna meet me there.
Mhm.
So what do you do with that?
Then it's hard because we talk about this. So some of us start out like here, and then there's others that start out up here. So you take a look at that climb to get to somebody, it's much harder. And the struggle's harder. You have more adversities, and then you're start to question if you're going to be able to even obtain your dreams. And then you,
Yep.
hopefully, you don't settle, but sometimes settling ends up happening because you are having troubles obtaining it. And it goes back to, again, that we were told that if we get good grades and we graduate college, that the doors are going to be open
Open.
to us. And it's not like that.
So let me ask you, how many of the students that you have taught over the years, because apparently you've been in this long enough for them
Yeah,
to
long
kind of
enough.
circle back, how many of them have actually gone on to do some really terrific things and came back to you and said, hey, because of what you taught me in this class, or I remember you, and you can see where their life has done some great things.
So I'm glad that you brought this up because I had a really unique experience this summertime. So I teach kindergarten,
Okay.
and one of my kindergarten students, I've seen them graduate high school, and then I saw them graduate college. And so her graduation was live, so I wasn't able to actually spend time with her after like I was in her high school. So we went out to eat, and I took her out and we celebrated her graduation. We sat and we talked for about 3 to 4 hours about education and about her studying. And right now she is studying like cancer, and she's slicing like different parts of the body and taking slices, and then it's examined. So she's explaining all of this to me, and then she's asking my advice on how to talk to her administration about going on and getting a grant so she can take classes through there, but she wasn't sure how to approach it. So I was helping her problem solve some of that. Started to talk to her about financial stuff and giving her some advice for that. I'm also friends, also keep in contact with her mom. So I think it's about keeping, I have some of those. I don't have all of those relationships with every single one of my students, but I have it with several of them. So it's neat to see how they progress and they remember me. I've been told too. I ran into one of my students at the basketball game, and she said, "You were my favorite teacher." I said, "Oh," I said, "I remember doing this." She's like, "I don't remember one thing we did. I don't remember anything we did." I was like, but still, I was their favorite teacher because it's how you make them feel.
Right.
You
Exactly.
remember those feelings,
What are you
not
doing?
necessarily what people say.
Yeah. So what does Maya Angelou say? It's people will remember how you make them feel, right?
Mhm.
Maybe not so much what they said, but how you make them feel. And that's
Right.
really important, right? So I get it. I'm all about that. I feel like I'm glad you shared that example. I feel like what are the options for those kiddos who do not have a network that they'll be able to lean on? Because right now I can see where this newer generation is actually creating their own right out the gate and very early on. So they're actually showing, and I'm very proud of them, right? They are showing us that there is more than one way to make it to the destination of our choice. It is not up to the people who helped us get started. It's up to the individual with the motivation and drive to get there. And so
Right.
I feel like for me, I'm glad that I instilled in my children what I did, which is they have to go out there and create it, figure it out, and then start doing the work. But I want to know, do you think it's like this new credit thing where it's better to have start your child's credit before they are ready to use it, type of a thing? So that means that the parents and the families are responsible for building a network that they can actually lean on in order to help their children get into the positions and jobs and get the mentorships that they're looking for?
So I'm going to throw this out here. I'm a working parent.
Yep.
I work the night shift. I'm having a hard time getting my child to school on time. And I use my the when my child's at school to sleep. And I get sometimes interrupted by school.
Hmm.
And so I'm very tired. My child comes home and we have homework to do. And then I have after that, I have after the homework, I've got to get my child something to eat. We got to spend some time together, and then I've got to get myself ready for the night. So, how am I going to be able to network for my child when I am just scraping by, barely myself and hanging on?
So, and that's why I asked a question, because
Right.
again, this is a compound
Yes, it
contradiction,
is.
right?
Yes, it is, and
Because
it's
I just
systematic.
yes, we're just and it's greatly impacting our what? Our resources and our
Mhm.
and it's our resources, the economy itself is suffering behind it. And at the
Yes.
same time, the haves and the have-nots are growing more and
And that
more.
gap
Yep,
that gap
and that's
is
it.
widening. So you look at another, look at the opposite. They have their nannies, they have people that can go
Nannies.
ahead and step in. Saying the opposite, nobody in the middle, the opposite. You have two extremes. So you
Mhm.
have, where they have resources. Then you have the middle where they're maybe have like better hours and that kind of thing, but still there's still the routines there. They're still trying to make the ends meet and all of that. It's challenging. I had 3 children, and
Oh, wow.
they all had extra needs. And
Mhm.
so, trying to figure out, it was sometimes like, how am I going to get my child to be able to do X, Y, and Z by the time that they're 12? So my goal was trying to look at like independence up until like a certain point. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm up against the clock. So here I was trying to like make sure that they were meeting milestones within a certain delayed, but within a certain amount of time, to make sure that they weren't so delayed that they wouldn't have a chance to become independent. So you have those types of families too.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, is that we don't. So when we're trying to keep up, period, working parent, single parent, doesn't matter. When you're just trying to keep up, that's where the problem. So that's
Mhm.
where we're putting so much on the families to try to figure out, to help them navigate. But sometimes if we don't have it for ourselves, we're not going to be able to provide it for any of our children coming behind us. So because I never want to leave these type of shows with not having an actionable item for people to take, because
Mhm.
that I do not wish to participate in the shenanigans that is, oh well, hopelessness, let's just fill in that hole, right?
Right.
What I want to say is that this is where the community and village kicks in.
Mhm.
So when we begin to build a village and a community and stop allowing divisive behavior to stop us from building a community that is here to support us. These divisive behaviors are no good for anyone. It is better for us to come together and figure this out than it is for us to separately go alone. It does not work. And it takes you longer to get there. And then when you get there, you turn to the left, turn to your right. There's no one there to share in your joy. So I would strongly recommend find a community, find somebody somewhere, somehow, that will be able to help fill in the gaps where you're not able to. For me, if my mom could have found somebody in tech and helped me out, I think I would have been in a better situation.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I think that that's good. But for me, I actually went out and found people that could help mine. So if they one wanted to do music, I was like, "Well, okay, so I don't know anything about that." So I went out and got the equipment
Yeah.
for him so he can do it. But then
Mhm.
I went and I found somebody who can potentially help him. So my
Right.
recommendation is for, the schools need to do their part. Absolutely. There's mentorships, there's programs that need to be adopted into the schools. They're going to allow each of these children, regardless of where they started, to first of all get rid of that scarcity mindset. Only mine. You can't have it. It's all for me. Wrong answer. Piece of the
Right.
pie, everybody can get a piece. Then the other thing is that have mentors that are there understanding what their roles are in those children's lives. Show them a positive example of how they are going to be able to get to point A to point B, and then know that they can reach out to someone and say, I got somebody in my corner and they're willing to have a conversation with me and help me figure out and navigate the terrain that no one has gone through before.
And I agree with you, and I also think that what needs to happen is that people need to admit that they don't have all the answers, and that is
Yes.
okay. A lot of us don't have all of the answers, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to um, s- ask others to help them, so then that way they can help their child, and they can develop a network system, like you had said, and where there's support. So if you don't know somebody, then somebody else might know somebody, or they could figure it out together, so you could brainstorm it.
Yes.
Um, and I think oftentimes there's that pride, and pride
Yeah.
gets in the way because we're like, nope, I've got this. I'm super mom, or I'm super dad. I can handle this. I can do it on my own. And I think that gets in the way a lot of how we can move ourselves forward and our children.
If you don't check your ego, how are they going to? They're going to feel like if this is the only way or the best way and forget everybody else's opinions or experience. You negate other people's experience and things when your ego shows up. If I meet your ego first, then that's the likelihood of you not being able to move forward. And I think we all have it at some point in time. We smell ourselves way too much, and we feel like, oh, we cannot be, broken down. But at the same time, it's very much possible, and it's up to us to determine how we're going to choose to go through that. So, Christine, I think what we've done is you understand the contradiction now, right?
Yeah, I got the contradiction loud and clear.
Do we see how we participate in that?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay,
Yes, I
so
do.
from an educational standpoint, from an educational standpoint, that's what she said. That part right there. We participate in this, and we cannot. Thank you, Kathy. We cannot continue with that behavior, thinking something's going to change. So, my recommendation is for this. First of all, how does it impact the child and what they do? At the end of the day, when we consistently feed them contradictions like chiclets, we will help them to see that there is no hope in the way that they're going, and then they stop wanting to continue and be a part of something that's bigger. So for all those parents who do not have large enough networks, or who do not have people in their corner who can support them right now, just parents, go out and find them. You're on LinkedIn. If you spend 5 or 10 minutes on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever social media platform you're on, if you have that 5 or 10 minutes, reach out to people who may be able to help your child later on, and then build those relationships, so then you can begin to ask questions that are going to be able to support them, because this is a marathon for sure. Life is definitely a marathon. And what is your last few thoughts?
I would even say go to the schools and say that this is important to me, and
Christine.
I want to have a parent network. And if you could start to, my child's interested in this, maybe start getting parents together that can help each other out, talking with the
Okay.
guidance counselor and that kind of thing to pull in the schools.
That's a good one. Because actually, I'll tell you real quick before we leave. I met a dad a few years ago. And when I met him in a school, and he was like, I'm very frustrated because no one, they have everything for the moms, and they come, come eat lunch with mom, and come and do this with mom, and do that with mom and grandparents. He's like, what happened to us? And so because of that, what he chose to do was create a dad's group,
Hmm.
that they come together, and they actually come and spend time with their children while at school, and a lot more dads participated. So it's very possible. So I agree, Christine. It took me a minute to get there, but I agree. Go ahead and ask the school for help and support, and help and support, and get the parent group going, so that you can build your network now, so that later on you can lean on your network. So this has been awesome.
Yes.
So
Yep. And
until
donuts for dads always work.
do, yes,
Donuts for
donuts for
dads.
dads. That's
Donuts
always
for
right. I love in that. So hey, until next time, Christine. This has been fun. I don't know if we're
Thank
going to
you.
talk about next time, but we always welcome the comments and the questions. Please send us a private message or go ahead and want to join our show. But until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your time today. We appreciate the support and look forward to you visiting us again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, words are power. Please remember to use them wisely. If you have an interest in discussing a contradiction or would like to be on our live show, please let us know and send us a direct message.